Blake, how you doing this week? Can you talk a little bit about what's going on in the secondary at safety with all these targeting calls and maybe just what you guys are doing in practice and during the week to try to address that? And is it something that you are trying to rein in? Are you flirting with a ragged edge that you don't want to take the aggressiveness away from your safeties? But it's clearly a problem for you. And can you, just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's definitely something we continue to address. You can still be physical without targeting. And like I say, every week, I think some are malicious and some aren't. The young man from Virginia was not very tall in the first place, and then he ducked. I think really the only thing Amari could have done differently is lift his head, raise his eyes, and maybe that doesn't get called as targeting. But no, Gary, it's something every single week. We it hurts. It obviously hurts the player. He's got to miss the remainder of the game, and then it hurts the team. Puts us in a bind as well. So something we'll continue to harp upon. I know Coach Banda does a drill every single week where we really talk about tackling low, and we just got to continue to harp on it.
And then just one quick follow. Since it's an open week, I wanted to ask you about this. The question that we probably get asked the most from the fan base as it pertains to defense is how you and Coach Diaz integrate in terms of game planning, making calls on game day. Obviously Manny's been a 20-year defensive coordinator in college football. How have you guys sort of manage that, and can you just tell us a little bit about how the two of you work together to craft game plans and then call the game on game day?
Yeah, I think overall, I think it's a collaborative effort between everybody in the defensive staff, especially when it comes to game planning. It's something that Coach Diaz and myself have always believed in, and everybody in that room has a voice. And if you don't agree with an idea, speak your mind. We're not going to yell at you or get mad at you, because everybody has value, from GAs all the way to the defense coordinator, and obviously Coach Diaz is the head coach. So it's something that we've always done. I think it gives guys ownership in the room as well. And, I don't ever foresee that changing, and as far as calling the game, same thing. Everybody has a voice. Now there's times where, it's, there's one voice, and it's kind of, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I would say Coach Diaz and I, it's kind of when he was the same thing when he was defensive coordinator. If I ask a suggestion, or if he gives a suggestion, we'll talk it through. And it was the same thing when he was defensive coordinator. If he asked me for something, or if I suggested something, we talked it through. And we've always had that relationship, and that hasn't changed, regardless of what our title is. So that's kind of always how it's always been, and how I always see it going. And everybody's on board with that.
Coach, we got David Lake from InsideTheU. David?
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask you about the defensive line, finished with 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack. That production, of course, not at the usual level. Was it just one of those days from that unit, or is it Virginia's offensive line being pretty good, their quarterback being pretty slippery, all the above? I guess what's your assessment of the D-line from that game?
I think it was probably a combination of things. Virginia had a very unique game plan. I would say there was a lot of things that we necessarily hadn't seen on film to date that they maybe were doing. But there was also times, like you just mentioned, where they're in the backfield. I know we missed a couple opportunities to sack them, and so it's probably a combination of the two, but definitely not our standards, something that we pride ourselves on, game in, game out, something that we are not happy with at the end of the day. But, still only allowed 14 points and won the ball game, and I'll take those 2 stats all day long over 10 tackles for losses and a loss on top of that.
Coach, we got Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny?
Hey, Coach. Don't want to be that guy who's always harping on the negative, but I wanted to ask what happened on that touchdown, because you guys obviously been playing so great all game. I thought outside of the opening drive when they were able to score, but the late touchdown that I guess Al gave up, was there just a confusion? Did he expect help? What kind of happened on that?
Yeah, it was just a miscommunication. It was a miscommunication. They were moving fast, and it's just a simple miscommunication, but between two guys on the back end, and something that's very correctable. Obviously it was not an ideal time, but proud of the way we responded. That was one of the things that I challenged him with after that play is overall, especially in the first half, I thought they had moved the ball well on us. Like I said, a lot of stuff that we necessarily hadn't seen, but starting the second half up into that point, I really thought, I think we started the half with 2, 3 and outs, and we're really starting to find our groove. And I told the guys, I said, man, we're still up. If we still don't allow any points moving forward, we still win the game. And I thought our guys did a great job responding even after that big play touchdown.
And then as a quick follow, I know some stats, you guys are down a little bit, run defense in particular compared to last year, but feels like third down, it's really been a big key for you guys. You're even better than you were a year ago on third down in terms of percentages. What's been your, I guess, mid-season sort of aspect, looking, evaluating this team, where you've gotten better, maybe where you've taken a step back?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Third down outside of last Saturday. Once again, when you don't have a lot of tackles for losses, obviously you're not going to have a lot of third and long situations. The shorter they are to the first down marker, the higher percentage they have of making it. That's just common sense, right? So, overall, and it's something that we're studying heavily this week. I think we got to clean up some things on our rush defense, from defensive line to linebackers, really all three levels. But as we've started in on the tape, there's some things that, when you're sitting there game week in, week out, there's some things maybe that you don't necessarily notice, but now you step back and look at it from 30,000 feet away. There's some glaring things that really need to get cleaned up in the second half of the season in the run game, in my opinion. And then our third down defense is something that kind of was an Achilles heel at some point. Last year was a big off-season study for us, and I think our kids have done a really, really nice job. I think there's a ton of pride. It's something that we challenge them with in the off-season and obviously moving forward into the year. And I think they've answered the bell as far as third down. But, yeah, we need to clean up some rush defense for sure.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach, we got Chris Stock from InsideTheU. Chris?
Blake, I know you've spoken about the impact of Bubba Bolden this season, but again, now we're sitting at 6 games. Just overall, his performance, the impact he's made, and your thoughts on his play, and then also his future just for the second half of the season, but also moving forward as he continues to play more and get better.
Yeah, I think Bubba has had a really good season so far. He's so instinctive. He makes a lot of plays. But truth be told, I think Bubba can get a lot better. And I know maybe sometimes from a fan's perspective, that's not a popular opinion, but I think if you asked him that question, he would tell you the same thing. Naturally, he has a great feel for the game. The play he made in the end zone on the little pop pass to break up the pass on the tight end was, I mean, there's no amount of coaching that we could have coached that play a million times in practice, and I'm not sure a lot of guys could have made that play. He really just did it on his own, something else, that we hadn't seen. So he has a great feel for the game. I think he can still clean up his eye discipline and his technique from time to time, but the future is very bright for Bubba Bolden. His leadership, his intangibles off the field, his tangibles on the field. He's really the complete package. And like I said, I really believe he's got a lot of room to get better and become a premier safety in in the entire country, quite frankly.
Coach, we got time for a couple more. We're going to go to David Furones from the Sun Sentinel. David?
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask about a couple of players that got in there. Jalen Harrell, his reaction to getting thrown into that game, get his first real meaningful defensive snaps that weren't, late in the game. Wayman Steed getting back into the rotation a little bit with Corey Flagg unavailable. And then also, what was the conversation like with Gilbert Frierson when he offered to give you some snaps at safety. And how prepared was he before all this, before game day, to be able to fill in a spot like that, and just how quickly he could go in there and fill that role?
Yeah, I think Jalen, just to answer your first part of your question, Jalen Harrell is a confident young man. The one thing about Jalen that we do know 100% for sure is he will come downhill and he will tackle. He's physical at the point of attack. I think he got in on a tackle, maybe two. But our young guys are really coming along, and it's something that, truth be told, we didn't foresee that maybe happening going into the game, and especially so early in the game. But I really thought he did a great job when his number was called. Wayman Steed, same thing. I thought he played. He has really good instincts. Once again, coming off that injury, but he played really well. Had a tackle for loss. But did some good things for us. I don't remember his total snap count, but for the amount of time, I thought he came in and did a nice job for us. And then Gilbert, man, he's just a student of the game. He sits in meetings, and obviously he's paying attention to everything. But how prepared were we as a staff to put him in there? I mean, I've been here going on 2 years, and he's played absolutely 0 snaps at safety for us. So, it's a credit to him. And he came up to us at halftime and said, "Coach, I can do it." And he's smart, man. The dude knows everything about everybody on the defense, what their job's supposed to be. It's pretty impressive. And for him to go in there and be able to give us some snaps at that position is big time. And it's something that, moving forward, we have confidence on. We can lean on probably a little bit more. But, anytime you have a guy like that, when he says it, you believe it. And when he says, "Coach, I know safety, I can go in there," there wasn't any doubt in our mind from a defensive staff standpoint that he could go in there and do it. So really proud of the way he stepped up for us, for sure.
Coach, last one for you. Barry Jackson from the Miami Herald. Barry, go ahead for Coach Baker.
Hi, Coach. I was going to ask you about the two defensive end Williams, your two freshmen. So not Cameron, but talking about Chance and Quentin, what you've seen from them. And I was curious with Jalen Harrell, why the decision on the staff's part to make him safety as opposed to striker or corner? Are his skills just, you think, better suited for safety?
That's a good question. I think overall, when you look at who has played striker for us, and even when I was at Louisiana Tech, kind of the same thing, it always ends up being a safety that spins down into that position. So, that's something down the road that might be a possibility for Jalen. But when you look at total depth of this year going into the season, we felt Jalen was better suited to help us as a defense in that role. When you talk about, Gilbert and Keontre, and Avery Huff's gotten some snaps over there as well. So I feel really, really good at that position. But, we might be sitting here in 3 weeks talking about Jalen Harrell at striker, right? The way this season's going. So that's a good question. It could happen. It's something that is to be determined. But right now we feel really good about that striker room and the depth standpoint we have there. And then what was your other question?
Right, just about Chance and Quentin Williams, just skills that you've seen in both of them, Blake.
Chance is, man, he's very, very technique sound. You could tell he was extremely well coached in high school. Smart young man, bigger than really I anticipated him probably being at such a young age. I want to say I think he's maybe 260 pounds right now and can still run like a deer. So, this is an opportunity. I think this bye week, and we'll see how practice ends up going. But this is an opportunity. I think he could really press for playing time in the second half of the season as we move forward. Quentin Williams has done some really good things. We've actually worked him a little bit inside and outside as well. So he's a guy that has kind of bounced around for us. But you can see how physical he is, extremely heavy-handed. But really impressed with those guys. Like I said, they're both young. But our young guys, man, they keep, it's behind the scenes, obviously, nobody being at practice or anything, but our young guys are stepping up in a big way. And as we continue to self-scout ourselves over this bye week and moving forward, I think you'll see more and more young guys play for us. Really, really encouraged by our freshman class, man. They're blue collar. They come to work every day. Don't say much, quiet group, but they're the real deal. Really happy with all of them.